speaking of this weekend, a lot of people probably wondering what they're going to be watching. We want to kick off a new segment on the show called What We're Streaming, basically just tips and recommendations based on things that we've been watching. We want to do it probably every couple of weeks, maybe once or twice a month. Give us time to watch stuff.
Right.
But this first segment will probably cover everything we've been watching since the new year. So how about you, Nate? What are you
I've been mainly on Netflix, which has been interesting with the password sharing stuff. I share a Netflix account with my family. I haven't been kicked off yet, so I don't know where we stand with that yet. But I started watching the third season, of You.
Yep, I'm already done.
Oh yeah, I know you're a big fan. Ben
Yes.
Badgley's awesome. I really think he's a great
He
actor.
is just great, and that show, you're still watching it?
No, I watched the second half of it.
Yeah,
come out,
March, right?
March or
Yeah.
4th, I think.
So I was like, when you get into it, and you always want to know when you're about to watch the last episode of something. At least I do, because I need to mentally prepare. And it finished, and I was like, part one's done. I finished it, and I'm gonna admit, probably in a day, I would say I sat down and watched it on the weekend day. But it's just so good.
Now it's a little bit preposterous at times, but
Yeah.
that's all TV shows, right? I really like the first season of that show. And last season was good too. But
I feel like last season was
okay.
my lowest ranking season.
I wasn't a huge fan. Like I said, it was a little bit outlandish. It's called You. It's a murder mystery show. Almost.
Yeah, I like this season
you might
because
recognize Penn Badgley if you saw him.
Yeah.
Is he Gilmore Girls?
Gossip Girl.
Gossip Girl. All
yeah.
Right. Close. I was close.
I almost just said something that could ruin it for people. But yeah, he is great. And I like this season because I feel like it took a twist and turn. There's there's a lot of new cast members. And it's just a little different than, I feel like 1 and 2 were so similar, and maybe that's why, I didn't love season 2. But I think this one's great, and I'm excited. Isn't it the last one though?
I think so.
Yeah, that makes me sad. But
there's a lot of murder Jim in it, so if that's something that interests you, then
yeah.
Well, it's a good show when you're sad that it's the last season.
Yeah.
So it's so it's 3 seasons long.
Yeah, and this third season's 2 parts. So they released part 1, and then part 2, I think, is I want to say March 9th is sticking in my head.
It's either 4th or the 9th.
Yeah, something like that. But it's a good show. Definitely.
You're also watching the new PGA Tour documentary.
Yeah, full swing. Yeah, it's awesome. That just came out Wednesday.
That's on Netflix?
Yep.
Netflix,
okay.
yeah.
It's really good. Paul, it's really similar to after what Paul was saying with Drive to Survive. It's a docu-series, what it's touted as, but it's very dramatized for television. They do a lot. It's really, really well produced in my mind, and they kind of follow through the lives of PGA Tour players.
Okay.
And the big story of it too, which is really cool, is last year they decided to do this show.
Picked a good year.
And they picked a good year with the Live Tour, the Saudi-backed golf tour being started, and being able to talk to players about their decisions with that and kind of what they were learning.
How many episodes are you into that?
I'm 3 episodes through, and there's 8 total,
I watched the first 2 last night.
Yep.
How long are they?
Hour.
About 40 minutes. Yeah, a little shorter than an hour. Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is, it's not there's not like a overarching storyline. So every episode is kind of its own thing. So the first episode was focused on Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth, who have played against each other since they were in junior golf and then in college. And then Jordan Spieth became this phenom, won 3 majors.
Yep.
Before Thomas won.
Right.
And even won. And it was good. It showed a lot of the lifestyle, the private jets and just who wouldn't want to be Justin Thomas or Jordan Spieth, right?
Which I have a little bit of a bone to pick with the private jet stuff, because that's such a minority on the PGA Tour. You have so many guys that are battling every single. There's so many guys that are battling every week to just be there.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you can go miss the cut, you make big fat $0. So it's interesting to see some of the guys are flying private, like those 2 we mentioned. Scheffler is probably one of them too. I would assume that they would. No,
Scheffler has a Suburban with 200,000 miles on it.
That's a good point. Yeah. He's an everyday guy. That a lot of the second episode's a lot of him. A lot of the third episode is live based with Koepka and a lot of Ian Poulter.
Yeah, Koepka was episode 2.
Oh, Koepka,
and that was a strange
Koepka
one
Scheffler,
because Koepka was another guy who was dominant, and then all of a sudden just lost it a little bit. And you can see in that episode that his confidence was totally shaken.
Yeah, it was nothing at that point.
But I liked it. I'm going to watch it all. I don't want to say I was a little disappointed because I don't necessarily think I was disappointed. I think it's just geared more towards the casual or even a non-golf fan.
It definitely is.
To kind of show the lifestyle and what it's like out on the PGA Tour.
Right.
So they had to dumb down a lot of stuff. Like they're like, par is the expected score on a hole.
Right.
They're explaining
Okay.
what a par is.
That's a good thing though, because you don't want to leave people in the dark, right?
Yeah. I mean, so as far as golf goes, I mean, now that I play, like I will watch it all the time and I'm interested in it. But like before I played golf, it was so boring to me.
Not even
And
the Masters?
Not like I didn't watch any of it. I was like, oh, golf's on. You know, I would rather watch something else. But now, obviously, I'm.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It was cool
I
when they were
love
going
it.
through in that first episode about the little money games they play in practice rounds, and they were talking about a hammer and all those terms, which is something I've heard before, but having it explained was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to watch it all. So that'd be another thing that we'd recommend even
Right.
for a non-golf fan.
Yep.
I think
Can't
that
wait.
they would probably enjoy it. Just like F1, it was a look inside the lifestyle. It's
Yeah.
a look behind the ropes, inside the ropes at the lifestyle.
Right. It's very dramatized though. Got to remember that,
Yeah.
of course. But
So yeah, for Netflix, since we're sticking to
how about
Netflix.
Outer Banks? That's my last one.
Okay,
You
so
watch that
Outer
show?
Banks, I loved season 1. I couldn't get into season 2. I stopped watching it.
Yeah, gets a little bit outlandish.
I don't know why. I just stopped. So
I think that show
I
is
will
so
pick it back
preposterous
up.
that it's good. That's why
Yeah.
I like it.
And it's kind of like, it's just unrealistic, obviously. You're like, oh, they got away again. But I am going to pick season 2 back up because I know season 3, is it out?
23rd, I think.
Okay. I knew it was soon. Because I like all of the, actors and actresses in it. So I'm going to give it another try.
It is just funny though. I don't know if this is season 2, so it might be a spoiler alert. But they escape to Colombia, and their friends go to find them, and they
Yeah.
just magically like end up on the sea. Which
Yeah,
is very
you know what I
funny to
mean?
me.
Like that type of stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, they did.
Right.
You just randomly,
That's
in all of
things
Colombia.
like that are annoying to me when watching TV shows. I don't want to suspend total, reality.
Yeah.
When watching a show like that. But,
Yeah. A
but-
good movie on Netflix. Have you guys watched Glass Onion?
Yes.
That was really good.
Yeah, I really like
That
that.
had a lot
too.
of great, like
The
Daniel
second
Craig.
one, right?
What?
The one that just came out more recently. 'cause
Yeah,
there's
I
two
can't
of 'em.
remember if I watched it like towards the end of 2022 or if I watched it in the beginning of the year. But it had a lot of like great actors and actresses in it. Like
Daniel
Catherine-
Craig's character in there too was because you picture Daniel Craig as like James Bond,
Right.
And this character was totally different. He
Yes.
was an investigator, a detective, but just kind of eccentric and different. He did a great job.
Yeah, Edward Norton was obviously great.
Yeah.
Kate Hudson, Catherine Hahn. Like I don't know. I thought that it was a really great movie.
Yeah, kind of similar to like a White Lotus feel to it too. Which is another thing that I don't know if we can even recommend that anymore. It's been out for a while, but obviously White Lotus is great.
So I watched what's the award ceremony? Oscars for movies, right?
Yeah.
Oscars.
Yeah.
I watched the Oscars and that won, obviously. And that's when I started watching it.
Yeah, and
Like
you-
I had
you
never
watched-
watched
did
it
you
prior to
complete
that.
it?
I did not complete it yet,
Yeah.
so don't tell me anything.
Two seasons. of
Yes. So I'm like halfway through the first.
that. Yeah, the big argument is which do you like the best, first season or second? Because you'll if you get a group of people, you'll find it split down the middle. I personally like season 2 a little better, but both were great. White Lotus is awesome on HBO Max, and then I think you started watching Yellowstone, right?
So yeah, I am totally into Peacock right now. I don't know if anybody else has it. I would highly recommend it. There's a lot of great movies and shows on there, and the reason I got it was because I wanted to start watching Yellowstone because everyone's raving
Paramount?
about it.
Paramount?
Peacock, I believe,
I thought
or is it
Yellowstone's on Paramount? I
Yellowstone's
think,
on Paramount, isn't it?
So I think you can watch certain seasons, but Peacock is where I've been watching, I believe. Maybe
there's
I'm
a
mistaken
lot
because I have both.
crossovers.
But
Yeah, there
love me
is.
some Kevin Costner, and it's just so good. I'm almost done with season 4 now. I've watched it so quickly. And then another one I actually just started watching this morning as I was working was Poker Face.
I want to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, with Natasha, is it Leone? I think that's how you pronounce it. That's really good. That's like a murder mystery, but also like comedy wrapped in because she's hilarious. I love
And
her.
she's like able to tell if someone's lying, right? That's the
Yeah,
theme.
so basically she can, like, if she's talking to you, it starts off in a casino and she can tell if someone is essentially, counting cards.
Sounds interesting.
But then it turns into like she escapes, and I'm not giving away too much because that's literally just the first episode. And then she kind of like is running away from the casino owners, and she can tell if you're lying when you're talking to her.
That would be an incredible ability.
I think most people can tell when I'm lying
superpower.
though, because
Yeah.
I have a pretty good.
I know, it's all over my face. Not a good liar either.
So, speaking of Peacock, I watched last weekend the movie Nope. It's on Peacock. That's the Jordan Peele movie out on a ranch.
Oh, I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
They're horse trainers, and I really don't want to give anything away about it because it's so kind of like off the wall, different than anything you ever seen. But I loved it. It was really, really good.
It's a movie, you said?
Yeah, it's a movie,
Okay.
which is nice to watch a movie once in a while instead of having to commit to,
Agreed.
to 20 episodes or something. But highly recommend that. I really, really enjoyed it. It turns into something that I think you don't expect. It's just a different twist on old trope, I guess. I don't want to give anything away, but Nope. It's called Nope. I couldn't even remember what it was called after I watched it, so I had to go back and look at it. So Nope, Nope, one word. And then on Paramount, The Offer is an incredible show. It's about the making of The Godfather.
Oh, okay.
It's not a documentary, though. It's a drama. So there's actors that play Martin Scorsese not Scorsese. Who's the Francis Ford Coppola, and they just kind of take you through the making of how that movie came about, and it's 10 episodes, and really, really entertaining, especially if you're a Godfather fan. I think you'd really, really enjoy that. And then moving over to HBO Max, I watched another movie, The Menu. You guys ever hear that one?
I don't think I have.
That's really, really good. That's also sticking with that White Lotus theme of like a really high-end luxury restaurant that you have to take a boat to, and it's a bit of a thriller. So I don't want to give too much away, but I recommend that highly, and really satisfying ending to that one, which is nice. To me, I can watch a whole series and a whole show, and if the ending is not satisfying, it ruins everything.
It does.
And so Menu was good, and I didn't see the ending coming either, so which was nice. And then my final recommendation I have is a show that maybe you've seen as you've been flipping through the HBO Max menu, but it's Station 11. It's 8-10 episodes. I'd never heard of it. It's based on a book. And it's my favorite thing I've watched this year. It was amazing, and I watched it alone. Wife fell asleep during like the second episode, and I just kept watching it. And then I binge watched it on probably over 2 weekends, and the last 3 or 4 episodes I started watching like at 11 at night, and so I just kept going. So I watched the final episode at like 3 a.m. So I was like,
I'm notorious for
I was
that.
vulnerable. My emotions were
Once
vulnerable.
you get into it, you can't stop. Like you want to just keep seeing.
Well, knowing that there's one more to go.
Yeah,
and
you
it
gotta.
was
You have to finish it. Right?
And it was. I teared up at the end. It was.
Oh.
It was again maybe because it was 3
You
a.m.
were vulnerable, right?
But that show was really, really good, and I hate to. A lot of times somebody will say, "Hey, you got to watch this show. The first 2 or 3 episodes aren't great, but then it gets better." I hardly ever watch those because I don't want to go through the first 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, like where they're slower, they're explaining.
You need to learn the characters and everything, and then so this was kind of like that. Although I won't say that the first few episodes weren't good. It's an apocalypse movie without like zombies or monsters. It's just like basically a flu decimates the population, and there's some survivors.
Oh, I feel like we started watching it.
It's
I feel like we may have.
HBO Max, you said, right?
HBO Max, yeah.
Yeah, I think we did start watching that actually.
There's a lot of Hamlet references because some of the main characters are actors who acted in like a production of Hamlet, but you don't know what's going on, and then about the 4th or 5th episode, things start to connect, and you're like, "Holy crap! Who wrote this thing?" Because it's
so. I have a question for everyone. If there's a show like you don't really want to pay attention, but you want to put something on that you're going to enjoy, what is the show that you'll put on and watch like on a regular basis?
For me, it's The Office.
Okay.
I've just watched it so many times.
That's
I
a good
almost
one.
know what they're gonna say at this point.
Yeah, it could be The Office or Seinfeld or whatever. Those are always going to just keep on giving.
Yeah.
Certainly, I find myself a lot of times watching old Game of Thrones clips on YouTube,
Okay.
or what's the name of that show? Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, I loved that show. That was an amazing show.
It really was. So,
I was so sad when that ended.
yeah, and similar with Game of Thrones. Alone now, Game of Thrones is back with their prequels.
Yeah, that was
Right.
that was so good. So I didn't even finish Game of Thrones because before I dated Tyler, I never got into it, and then we started watching that, but we couldn't wait to
So
watch.
you
the
haven't
new one.
finished the Game of Thrones?
No,
yet?
but I watched the new one, obviously, start to finish.
Yeah, you should watch the entire Game of Thrones. To me, that's the best series ever created.
Yeah,
I really liked it a lot.
I'm definitely like a Park and Recs girl.
That's always good.
I love Park and Recs. And then it was funny that we mentioned Gossip Girl because for some reason that's like I always put Gossip Girl on.
Well, that's what I find on YouTube. You know, I'll just be like, sit down at the computer to do something, and YouTube pops up, and there's a clip on the recommended videos of like a scene from whatever,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones or Boardwalk
TikTok's
Empire,
good for that, too.
or
Yeah, TikTok is.
And then so you just watch it, and then after that's done, you watch another one, and then you watch
HBO
another
has
one.
just had such great
Yeah.
series. Entourage, that was a
Entourage was fantastic.
Entourage was the OG.
Yeah, really loved Entourage. So yeah, to me HBO Max is the best, and that's why I think that's usually where I'll go first. And a lot of times I will watch things I don't know anything about just because they're on HBO Max, and that's what happened with Station 11. So just to recap, I recommend Station 11 if you're going to look for it's a short series, a 10 episode, one season. That's it. It's done. And then for movies, Nope on Peacock and The Menu on HBO. And then if you're a fan of the Godfather series of movies, The Offer. It's on Paramount.
What about Paul? You got everything over there, Paul?
Paul, what's going on over
Paul,
there? What are
you're
you
quiet.
watching besides a Daytona 500 qualifying?
That's right. Nothing really, I guess, fresh right now.
Racing.
Well, yeah, but no, I was big on Is It Cake when it first came out, and they've only had the one season so far on Netflix, so we got that. Yeah, Drive to Survive, that new season's out in a couple weeks there. But Big Mouth.
Big
does everybody
Mouth.
know about Big Mouth?
I love Big Mouth.
So
I wasn't a big fan of the new season.
we have that.
I
Yeah,
haven't
the new
watched it.
season's a tougher watch, but
Yeah.
I
Pushed the envelope
still
a little
enjoy
too
it.
much, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I'm a big docu-series or documentary guy a lot of times. So on Netflix, there's a few good ones. There was one on 3 Mile that came out at the end of last year, towards the end of last year, that I was big on. And one that I always go back to, if you want to talk about like the ones we always kind of go back to if we're in a mood or something like that. There's one called The Battered Bastards of Baseball.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so
It's a documentary. It's outstanding.
yeah, and I always love watching it because it's just I laugh every time that the fact that we have Bing Russell and Kurt Russell out here pretty much owning Major League Baseball at their own games. So, but
They purchased a minor league
fun,
baseball franchise in Portland.
Yeah. Yep, Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh
and
yeah,
it's in
Tyler
like
told me to watch that.
it's in like the late 70s, so
Yeah,
you got that whole
pretty much
feel,
the mid 70s. Yeah.
that whole Schlitz beer feel to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it now that Paul recommended it.
It's really it's awesome because there's like feel good elements to it, and it's a documentary. But at the end of the day, there's like feel good elements in it, and like there's definitely recognizable names. Like Kurt Russell played for the team, right? I mean, I feel like we all know who Kurt Russell is, right? I mean,
Yeah, and his father.
Father Bing, who was the most murdered Western sheriff in TV history, I think, or something like that. So, but there's just a lot of interesting just quirks about the team. Like I know if you're a baseball person, the name Jim Bouton is pretty well known. Like he pitched
Author
for
of
the
Ball 4.
yeah, he pitched for the team and he made a comeback with them to get back to the major leagues. So
There's another guy that made a
lot of awesome
comeback
stuff.
with them too, right?
Um,
Another pitcher.
I mean, I know Bouton for sure.
Yeah, it's been over a year since I watched that. Which reminds me, one last thing. The Last of Us on HBO. It's like 4 episodes in. That's really good too. That's kind of the one you've seen commercials for, I'm sure.
Right. It's a big Super Bowl
Zombie.
commercial, I think. Right?
Another zombie movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a zombie movie girl.
Yeah,
Or
these
series.
are different zombies, but same thing.
They're all the same.
World comes to an end. Everybody turns into monsters and tries to
Yeah.
kill the last of the people that are alive.
Then your family and friends
Tries
turn
to
into
kill the Last of
zombies. You have to
Us.
kill them. Like it's just always the same
Gotta get
thing
him in
in
the
my
head.
opinion.
You can kill him by hitting him in the head.
Yeah.
Oh man,
With a knife or a gun in the head.
ouch! Tough way to go out.
Did you ever watch Walking Dead?
Nope.
That's
Oh,
what
wow.
just
No.
popped into my head.
Yeah,
my
well,
old
that's
maybe,
the
roommate.
maybe like a
original.
season, maybe
Don't
like
get
an
me
episode.
started.
Yeah, my old
I wasn't a
roommate
big
was
fan.
obsessed with that show, and I'm like, I cannot watch this.
I
Like,
loved
I
it.
was always like, I always had anxiety and was anxious when I was watching it.
I loved it until like episode 5, and then I was like, this is getting old. Stopped watching it.
Yeah.
Try
wasn't a big
watching a
fan.
couple seasons because it's just it's the same.
I'm not a Game of Thrones fan either.
Holy, really?
No.
That's like probably one of the first people I've ever heard say that.
What
I
don't you
don't
like about it?
I don't think I'm intelligent enough to follow that show.
You
to
could.
know
It's
what's
just
going on.
it's
and have
just
to
one of those
focus.
shows where you have to pay attention. Like
And I
Yeah.
watched the first half of the first episode, and I wasn't.
Well, I used to watch it week
I
by
don't have very
week.
good attention span.
I mean, it came
Yeah.
out now like 15 years ago, I think, probably, right?
Probably.
it's
about
pretty
that,
old, yeah.
So I would watch an episode, and then on Sunday night, and then I would like listen to like 3 different podcasts during the week,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then
Yeah.
watch the
Do
next.
it.
See,
yeah.
I think that's why it was a little difficult for me because I was like binge watching it. Where the new one, what's it called? I'm drawing a
something
blank.
about the dragon.
The
House of Dragon, yeah. So that was a lot easier and more eventful, I guess, to watch for me because I had to wait for the new, episode to come out each
and
week.
the thing that was cool about that too is like I think if you never watched Game of Thrones, you could watch House of Dragon, but if you did watch Game of Thrones, you can appreciate even more what goes on in House of Dragons because there's some just
Yes.
Easter eggs,
Yes.
But yeah, I love Game of Thrones. If you want to start watching it, Nate, I can tell you the history of all the great houses of Westeros.
All right.
But
Die Hard.
yeah, so that's just a little bit about what we're watching. We'll check back in the next 3-4 weeks and give you some more recommendations. So fire up your streaming devices and your Rokus, and hope.